there we go. So let's make sure I'm recording and we'll get started. So as you can see here in the hybrid plan, so let me go through this a little bit. We'll get started right here. We have 3 people entered the waiting room. So Orlando, maybe if you could help let those people in. Here is the big news that came out last night that definitely we want to make sure people know about. So assuming Clackamas County continues to meet the metrics that is outlined by the school board and staff vaccinations continue on their current schedule. And I can say that Scouters Mountain staff for the most part is right on track to be fully vaccinated. Here is what the new schedule looks like. So notice in grades K and 1, we're going to move a teacher grading day. Teachers will have March 18th and 19th to prepare their classrooms for in-person instruction, the first day of a hybrid schedule, meaning some of our students will be here on Monday and Tuesdays. Some will be here on Thursdays and Fridays. That would start that Monday after spring break. So that's pretty quick. That's going to come up in a hurry.
Excuse me, Mr. Long.
Yeah. Oh, is it me because I'm the host? I have to let him in?
Because you're the host, yeah.
See, here we go. I'll fix it. Admit. Oh, here we go. Admit all. There we go. Thank you for letting me know that. Anyone else? We've got more people coming in. All right. Hopefully I got them all. I'll watch for that screen on there. Thank you. So there's the big move for K1. Now notice that third bullet that says LIPI, L-I-P-I for students and staff. LIPI stands for Limited In-Person Instruction. So for those of you that have first graders this year, you may remember last year in kindergarten, your kindergartner came for a couple hours on one day during the first week of school just to get oriented. That's what this is. So on March 18th and 19th, we will have groups of our kindergarten and first grade students come in small groups. They'll learn where their teacher's located, because especially our kindergartners, they don't know where their classroom is. And they'll get kind of the lay of the land and what protocols are in place. It's kind of a gradual entry on the 18th and 19th for kindergarten and first grade. And you'll get information about when your specific time will be. It could be that the district decides to do those all at the same time. So all Scouters, kinder and first graders come on March 18th, or maybe we'll be assigned the 19th. Buses will be set up by then. And it'll just be kind of a dress rehearsal, a run through on the 18th and 19th. And then kindergarten and first grade, if you have signed up for the hybrid schedule, you would come on March 29th. That's the Monday after spring break. Okay, the next thing is on grades 2 through 5. Okay, so that's us too. Again, the grading day has moved. Preparation days are the 8th and 9th. And if you have a second, third, fourth, or fifth grader, they will be coming in a hybrid model if you've signed up for that on April 12th. So that means on April 12th, we will have everyone who signed up for a hybrid model coming to our school in person for in-person learning on April 12th. We'll have, well, it's kind of technically a full school, but it'll be half the school and probably be half of that for the amount, well, 2/3 of that. We have had about 2/3 of our families agree to come back in a hybrid model, and about 1/3 who would feel more comfortable staying in distance learning. So that's the timeline right now. Now, if you have older siblings, and this was just approved last night by the school board, 6th through 12th graders. So if you have a middle schooler or a high schooler at home, and I don't know if they've even provided a survey for those kids yet, whether you would like to come back in a hybrid model, but if you did, that's April 26th. So middle school and high school coming back at the end of April. So this is big news for us. So kindergarten first, March 29th, 2nd through 5th on April 12th. In the meantime, the CDL schedule will stay the same. So those of you, all of us doing distance learning right now will remain in distance learning until, for kindergarten and first grade, March 18th and 19th will be a different day for them. 2 through 5, you'll continue in distance learning until, looks like April 8th. There'll be a couple of days for teacher prep, where probably kids will have those days off, or they'll just do some asynchronous stuff at home. And then April 12th is the day of a hybrid. And for those families remaining in CDL, and we'll go through this a little bit, it's very likely that those kids will have a different teacher because now Scouters teachers, the ones who elected to come back and teach in a hybrid model, are now teaching their kids in person. So those of you that remained in
Mr.
CDM,
Long,
yeah,
I have a question. So for how long are they gonna stay at school? It's gonna be like a regular school time?
yeah, great question, Amanda. I'll show you that. It's not a full day. It
Okay.
actually is morning time, and we will not be serving lunch at school. So it's morning time, but I'll be sharing that as much as I know.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So there is the new big news. I wanted to be sure and get that to you. And in fact, our staff doesn't know a whole lot of that unless they were watching the school board meeting last night. So that will be coming out today. So as I move ahead, okay, so what does the hybrid model look like? So remember, we divide kids into two different cohorts, cohort A and cohort B. So let's say cohort A, your child was assigned for cohort A. That means on Mondays and Tuesdays, your kids will attend school in person for 3 hours. Now, every school is a little bit different. Traditionally, Scouters Mountain has been a late arrival school. So in a traditional school year, we start school later than most elementary schools in our area. We also get out later. It's just shifted the day so the buses can pick up everyone. So it looks like for us, we are going to start school at 9 o'clock. Kids will, 9 o'clock. So the hours are 9 to 12:10 is what it looks like right now. Now, again, that could change, but I want to be as transparent as I can. For what I know now, as a late start school, Scouters Mountain would be 9 o'clock to 12:10. There would not be lunch served. Kids would go home to eat lunch. And then afternoon, we'll talk about this. So in the afternoon, if you're in cohort A, you come to school on Mondays and Tuesdays for those 3 hours till about 12:10. And then in the afternoon, you're doing some distance learning things, okay? Wednesdays will be exactly the same as they are now. They will still be a time for teachers to plan and to meet with me and to work on school-related goals. There will still be that morning meeting. Likely it will now be at 9:10 instead of 9 o'clock. There are other schools that really got shifted. If you're an early start school, kids are starting at 8:15 instead of 9. That doesn't apply to us. We're a later start school. So it sounds like the class meeting on Wednesdays would be at 9:15. And then on Thursdays, this is new also, okay? So if you're in cohort A, and we'll flip-flop it for cohort B, but if you're in cohort A, you went to school live for 3 hours, Monday and Tuesday. You had stuff on the computer to do in the afternoons on those days. Wednesday, you had your class meeting with your teacher again at about 9:10. Then it was on your own for the rest of the day based on what the teacher gave you. Here's the new thing. Remember the schedule I showed you in February, if you were able to tune in in February, originally we thought that cohort A kids would be all on their own with asynchronous activities on Thursdays and Fridays. So technically it was Monday, Tuesday live, Wednesday a half hour, Thursday, Friday no live. That is now changed. So watch this. So now on Thursdays and Fridays, this would be what cohort B would go to school live in the morning, while your kids who are in cohort A, after their morning check-in, they would log in after 12:10, and now they are doing live sessions with the teacher that afternoon. So it is live, like Amanda's question. Well, how long are they in school? Well, technically, they're in school for 3 hours, and then they have some things in the afternoon. So Monday, Tuesday, cohort A is in school live for 3 hours. Cohort B is in the afternoon working live with their teacher. On Thursday, Friday, cohort A is cohort on Thursdays and Fridays. Cohort B is working live with the teacher right here. Cohort A comes online after lunch, and they are working live on the computer with their teacher. So your child will have live interaction either in person or with their teacher every day. And I see some of you taking a picture of this screen. It's probably a good idea because it's kind of confusing. I don't know if I did a slide for cohort B, but what you would do, cohort B, if you're assigned to that one, this becomes cohort B Thursday, Friday. Cohort B would go to school live with their teacher in person on Thursday, Friday. And then on Monday, Tuesday, they're working in the afternoon live with their teacher on the computer. Okay. So hopefully that makes sense. Wednesdays will stay pretty much the same as you're used to right now. So depending on what cohort you're assigned, you will have 2 days of working live in the classroom with your teacher, 6 feet apart and masked up and with all the protocols in place. That's for 2 days. Those afternoons, after you go home, you're on your own. And if you're cohort B, on those days where cohort A comes live in the morning, you come on the computer in the afternoon, and pretty much you're going to duplicate to the best of the teacher's ability. So you're doing the same things as your classmates. You're just doing them online on the computer in the afternoon. And then it flip flops on Thursday, Friday. I know that's kind of hard to understand. I'll see if I've got a slide here that explains it. Okay, here is a schedule. So here with no times on it, you see. So here's cohort A on Monday, Tuesday. Oh, that's still cohort A. So that doesn't help a whole lot. But here's what it would look like. Now this student arrival for us, if we're starting class at 9:10, depending on when buses arrive and when parents arrive, and I'll give you more guidance on that when we know more. Student arrival could be anytime between 8:45 to 9 o'clock, 9:10. They'll go into their classroom. They'll do an on-site class meeting, right, in their classroom. Cohort B at this time, to make things consistent, will also be meeting, not necessarily with their teacher, but they have a morning meeting as well, just like they do every day now. So even if you're not going to school live until the afternoon, or if it's not your day to go to school live that day, sorry, all live is in the morning. But if it's not your day to go live, you still have a morning meeting. We're still trying to figure out if that will be with the kids who are in the classroom. We'd have to get some equipment that can stream the teacher, or it could be that kids who are not live that morning but still have a morning meeting will meet with another adult in the building just to check in, see how they're doing. It could be me. A lot of your kids like to come to the morning movement. Maybe that's their check-in time on those days where they come and check in, and I can see that it's just to kind of give them a consistency that even if you're not live on a certain day, you still have that morning meeting every day. And I think it'll be right around 9:10 for us in the morning. So that's cohort A, and you can see these are the different topics or different subjects. And I'm really going to leave that up to teachers of how they want to divide that up. There is a movement and a snack break that I am working through. The playground, as you can imagine, is going to be a difficult one to manage. Some schools are thinking about just doing a simple movement break within their classroom where kids won't leave their classroom. I personally am not a big fan of that. I hate to bring kids back to school and say, there's that cool playground out there that we don't get to use. So it's really going to be a lot of training on staff part and at your part at home to really remind kids that they do still need to stay 6 feet apart, even when they're on the playground. And what we'll try to do is have some games where maybe they can throw balls back and forth to each other, or we'll have some dots on the playground that they can stand on and move to, so they're staying apart. We have some long jump ropes that they'll stay apart with, but we really have to train the kids that although we get to use the playground, we still have to have our masks on and stay 6 feet apart. But I am much more in favor of them getting some fresh air rather than staying in the classroom and watching another video that has them move around. So we're going to work on that. So there will be a recess time. This part here with the 3 asterisks, this specially designed instruction, that is for kids who are receiving individualized education plans, or IEPs. If your child sees Mrs. Paez in the resource room, we're going to work on making sure they will continue to get that service. We're going to figure out whether that will be live with Miss Paez, socially distanced, or that will be online, maybe on a day that you're not live in school. We're still working on all those details. And then you see lunch and dismissal. This lunch here, the blue one, that's staff lunch. We will not be serving lunch to students at school. So we would encourage students to bring a snack, which we will eat likely outside, socially distant. So they can eat their snack outside. We'll have garbage cans outside for them to dispose of it. If they do not bring a snack, we will have some snacks available, but we have to be really careful about that. So we don't want to be the primary provider of your student snack. Hopefully you can bring that. But if a child comes to us and says, I'm really hungry, we will of course feed them. We will have something here at school, but we'd really like it if students would bring their own snacks. Of course, we'll have to follow all allergy protocols and things. So we want to keep kids apart, and they'll likely eat their snack out on the playground before recess starts. And then there's this is the staff lunch. And then you see the afternoon. So this is applied learning. So these are things that you're kind of doing now, your kids are doing now when it's not a live instruction time. Okay. And then same type thing. So that's how that goes. And there's Thursday and Friday. And I know it's confusing. So let's stop right here. And if we have any questions right now, let's see how many of the do we have here? Let's see if I can see. We have 37 of you, and I can't see all of you. So it's probably best, I think we'll be okay if you unmute and just ask your question now if you have any right now, things that you're wondering about based on what we've learned so far.
I do have a question, Mr. Long.
Okay.
Another one. So if you have siblings, is there
Oh.
any possibility that they can go together on the same day and everything?
Wonderful question. Not only is it a possibility, that is required. We will make sure that siblings go on the same day. Now, when older siblings start to go back, we can't guarantee that. We can do it for our school, but if you have middle school and high school students and you really need middle school brother or sister to go at the same days as elementary school kids, you're going to have to talk to the middle or high school because we're the first ones rolling this out. But absolutely, we will have siblings will go at the same time. And what I have told parents in the past, and I've gotten a few emails so far, if for some reason, based on your family circumstances, you really need the live days to be Monday, Tuesday, or you really need those live days to be Thursday, Friday, please let us know that. We'll do our best to accommodate that. I can't guarantee that we will, but we'll do our best. I would prefer that we don't say once cohort assignments come out and you learn, oh shoot, all of my daughter's best friends are in cohort A and we're in cohort B. I'd prefer we don't switch people around for that purpose. But if there's a legitimate family need, daycare or whatever you need, that a child needs to be in a different cohort, please let us know. And if you can let us know ahead of time, it would really benefit our family if my child was in cohort B, because that's when we have childcare available. Please let us know that ahead of time. Right now, we have preliminary cohorts, but I'll be honest with you, as I made them, and I just did them really quickly, I kind of went in alphabetical order down the list and divided them up Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday, Friday. We're going to have teachers, now that we have a specific date when we're starting, we're going to have teachers really start to look at those now and look at combinations of kids and what would work best. And some of our students who are learning a second language, we maybe like to put them together so they can learn at the same time. Same thing for students who have IEPs, we may want to put them together. So there will definitely be some thought put into the cohorts. It's not simply us going down the list and going A through J is going to go Monday, Tuesday, and the K through Z is going to go Thursday, Friday. So we will work through that. Good question. So yes, siblings will be coming together. Any other questions right now?
I have a question, I guess. What are there any guidelines surrounding if we have some kids that do end up contracting the virus? You know, kind of what the protocol is around that.
Great question. So we have contact tracing going on at school. So again, we're taking attendance each day. Every classroom will have a specific door that they enter and exit from. So we'll be able to keep track of where students were. We have bathroom logs going on. Every classroom has assigned restrooms. Now, granted, we don't have enough restrooms for every class to have their own, but there are assigned ones for certain grade levels of where they're going. So we are doing a lot of paper trails at school. If we learn that a student has been exposed to the virus, there is a protocol that we follow at the district level. I need to notify our school nurse, who then does her job as far as contact tracing, and it's determined whether we need to have certain students quarantine or the entire classroom quarantine. I sure hope we don't get to that point, but if we do, we will adjust. We will notify you at home that this classroom will be learning online for the next 14 days or whatever we're told to do. But yes, we are certainly following a lot of contact tracing, and there will be a trail of where kids are going at all times.
My question is kind of along the same lines.
Okay.
So are you relying on self-reported COVID cases?
We
or
are
will there
relying
be
on
a-
self-reported, and so we really need to know that. If families have been exposed, or if you believe your child has been exposed, please let us know immediately. We are relying on self-reporting. And as far as health checks, we are not taking temperatures at the door. We are doing, staff members are in charge of doing visual checks. So what we're really looking for are coughs, sneezes, aches, bleary eyes, things like that we can see visually. We're checking for that. If a student is showing any symptoms, whether it's a cough, sore throat, we can't really test for lack of smell or taste. We do have what's called a care room set up at our school. It's a separate room where the child will go basically in isolation, but we may have more than one student in that room, socially distanced apart. That room has a separate entrance for parents to come pick up, so they will not be in contact with other children. And we do have a full PPE and a staff member who will be in charge of that room, who has got the full PPE suit on, mask, gloves, and we'll be monitoring those students in that particular room. And now if it turns out we need more than that, I sure hope we don't. If we need more space, we can move kids into the gym. But if students are showing symptoms, one, we would hope that parents wouldn't bring their children to school or send their children to school. But if they do, we will be in contact with the school nurse, who will then contact you and give you advice on whether that student needs to be quarantined for a certain amount of time. And then we have to notify families that this, based on our contract tracing, your student was exposed to another student who we believe has contacted the virus. So I'm hoping we don't have to do a lot of that stuff, but yes, those processes are in place.
Thank you.
Sure. Any other questions right now? These are good questions.
Back to the hybrid plan.
Yes.
Is this going to be the plan for the remainder of the school year, or is this
Correct.
kind of considered
Yeah.
a soft open?
Great question. That is the plan. Oops, I went forward. I didn't mean to. Okay, let's go backwards. This is the plan for the remainder of the school year. So yes, we will stay in this cohort A and cohort B. And once you've decided if you're going to do the hybrid model, you will stick in the hybrid model. Or if you've decided to do CDL and you think, wow, I hear great things about that cohort model that's going on, we'd like to join that, we're not going to be able to do that. So once you've made your decision, and you'll have an opportunity to confirm your decision, there's supposed to be a letter coming home from the district today that allows you to say, yes, that's what I signed up for, and yes, that's what I'm committing to. We're going to stick with that for the remainder of the year. I hope by the end of the year we have some guidance on what next fall will look like. I have not heard that yet, but I am crossing all my fingers, hoping we are back to a full day in-person learning in the fall. But yes, that's what it will look like for the remainder of the year.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Any other questions?
So actually 2 questions.
Okay.
The first one is, this is going to be, so now is the time to change the plan, my plans to start hybrid model by the end of March.
Correct. So you will, the district is sending home a letter. It is supposed to come home today. So check your email sometime by the end of the day, unless it gets held up for any reason. Today will be a letter that kind of is going to put this in writing, what I'm explaining to you today, and then it will ask you to confirm your decision. The problem is the letter will not say what your preference was the first time we asked. So if you don't remember, or if you know that I want to change mine, probably the easiest thing to do, and we had a lot of people do this one way or the other after my last coffee hour, and that's great. Call our school office and say, I would like to do the hybrid model, or I would like to do distance learning the rest of the year. And we had families call both ways. So either way is fine. We just need the most accurate numbers we possibly can, because remember I showed you last time, and I actually had the slide set up and then I took it out because it's a little confusing, but we're basing our staffing on what our enrollment is. So let's say kindergarten's a tricky one because we have 3 teachers in kindergarten, 3 different kindergarten classrooms. Most of our other grades, except for 5th grade, have 2 teachers. So kindergarten and fifth have 3 teachers in them. If we only have, well, I shouldn't say only, but if we have enough students to fill 2 hybrid rooms, and I remember to fill a classroom, it's not really that big because we can only fit about 13 to 15 desks in a room. So 13 kids in cohort A, 13 more in cohort B, that is about 26 total. So if we get more than 26 or more than we're allotted, okay, well, let me just go to kindergarten. Right now in kindergarten, based on our numbers, we have enough kindergarten families who would like to go to the hybrid model that we need 2 total classrooms, 2. So that means our 3rd kindergarten teacher, whoever that may be, will be in charge of the kids who remained in distance learning. So we have many families who chose we're just going to stay in distance learning. But if our numbers in kindergarten continue to increase and we have families that decided initially to do distance learning, you know what, now we're going to change our mind. We're going to come back in a hybrid model. We may need all 3 of our teachers to teach a hybrid model. That means we would need 3 classrooms set up instead of 2. That also means that very likely your kids will not be as likely your kids will have a different teacher in the hybrid model. Now, kids who elect to stay in CDL, very likely, especially at Scouters, are going to have a different teacher. I don't know who that teacher will be. It could very well be a teacher from a different school who maybe for health reasons cannot come back to the classroom. It can continue to teach CDL. Because in our case, first grade is a good example. We have 2 first grade rooms. We have enough first grade families that decided to do hybrid. So both of our first grade teachers, as long as they don't have any health restrictions, and I don't believe they do, I would have known about that. They are both going to teach a hybrid model. So any kids who decided to do CDL, who are in Miss Hatchell or Miss Ireland's room, will after March 29th have a different teacher because Miss Hatchell and Miss Ireland will both be busy teaching their hybrid model students. So that's a tricky one. So those of you that are staying in CDL, it's not like you're getting an unqualified teacher. It'll just be a different teacher than your kids are used to getting.
All right.
Anything else?
My second,
Yeah,
my
go ahead.
second question is it okay to visit during the school hours? Like, because for my son, it's a new school, so I guess, yeah.
Wonderful question. I in a typical school year, I would say absolutely. Unfortunately, we are not allowed to open our school to anyone other than staff. We can't even have parent volunteers in the building. So probably the best thing to do, and I'll make some videos about this. What I think we're going to do, and I'm still figuring this out, is that you can walk your student up to a certain point outside the school doors, say goodbye there, and then the child needs to come in. And I will do my best to make videos inside, like I'll make a kindergarten video that says, okay, kindergartners, here's how you walk down the hall. Here's where your classroom is. Here's what it looks like. But unfortunately, we have to rely on just video, and we are not allowed to have parents in right now.
Okay, thanks.
Yep. Other questions?
Mr. Long,
Yeah.
when do you anticipate knowing which cohort they'll be in, and if they have a teacher switch?
Great question. So your letter from the district is supposed to come home today, and it gives you 1 week. So till next Friday, which would be March 5th, to make your decision. After March 5th, we will take all of that information and meet me and all of the teachers from each group. And we will also involve Mrs. Super, our ELD teacher, will involve Mrs. Paez, our resource room teacher, Mrs. Bell, our counselor, because they have good insights on which would be good combinations of kids and which might not be. So I would anticipate by the end of that week of March 5th, so March 9th or so, you should be getting correspondence of what cohort your child is assigned to. So we're going to need a few days after the final deadline for deciding, and then we'll make those cohort decisions. That's why it'd be great too, if you already know you're coming back in hybrid and there is a certain cohort, whether it's A or B, that would really work better for your family, please let us know sooner rather than later. I would hate to have it all set up and then realize, oh shoot, we assigned Liliana to cohort B, and she really needs to be in cohort A, and now we need to switch a few more kids. Other questions? Good job, everyone. Okay, I'm going to move forward. So CDL, for those families that are electing to stay in comprehensive distance learning, there's a change to that as well. Since we now have kids coming back for live instruction in person, if you remain in comprehensive distance learning, it will be all live with a teacher. So the day extends and it will be with a teacher live. There is no more of that asynchronous on your own stuff. Hey, go read your book or go watch this recorded lesson. CDL kids will be all live. Now, it won't be obviously live all day. The teacher needs a bathroom break once in a while, and there'll be a lunch break. And there may be times where they'll be off screen for half an hour to do a certain assignment, and then they come back on, or small group times. But the changes will be, there will no longer be any asynchronous. Those are those recorded lessons. Also, the schedule for the day, for us, it doesn't impact it very much because we're pretty close. 9:10 is pretty close to a 9 a.m. start time. But for other schools, that would be a change. So when other schools are starting at 8:15 in the morning now, that's when CDL would start for those schools as well. For Scouters, it's pretty close to the same as it was. All lessons, though, are live with a teacher, you see right there. So for those of you that are remaining in CDL. So no more of the recorded lessons because teachers obviously won't have time to record those and create those. Okay, so here is a sample schedule depending on whether you're in cohort A or cohort B. So we've got morning meeting, a movement break. Now these are just samples. Our teachers may decide to do reading at that time and move math down here. I haven't been a classroom teacher for 15 years. They know better than I do how to schedule their day, and I trust their professional judgment. So this is just a sample. So, and teachers are really good about sending home the schedule to you when they start, and you'll know when math is and when language arts is and so on, and when science and social studies is. So you'll get all of that information. But that's a kind of a sample schedule. So PE, music, health is on a website this year. Mrs. Bell, our school counselor, she still has her Google Classroom. I have not heard yet, I think it's still being discussed, whether PE and music will be live at school. I don't think it will be because that would expose our PE and music teacher to an awful lot of kids. I think PE and music will still be recorded and kids can access that after their school hours or after 1 o'clock when they've done that before. So I don't know for sure, but that's what I'm thinking right now. So our arrival process, and this is still under construction. So we'll be out in the main parking lot. We're lucky, our parking lot is really good. It has plenty of area to drop people off. An adult will be at each place to guide students, and they'll do a visual health check at the front doors. Now for us, it may not be the front doors. Here's what I'm toying with because we want to keep kids apart. And as you can imagine, we have a lot of kids, especially when our upper grades come back. That's a lot of kids congregating in that small little area in the front of the school. So our plan to start with kindergarten, first and second graders is they will come to the front of the school and be escorted down. There's kind of a fire lane adjacent to our school that goes down toward the playground. And they will go down that fire lane with an adult, and under our covered play area, there will be dots 6 feet apart in multiple lines, and they will stand on that dot waiting for their teacher to come out and get them. So they will be in a safe spot under cover. It might be a little chilly some mornings, but they would be chilly anyway, whether they're waiting in front of the school or down under the covered area. And we'll ask parents to probably stop at the curb and let your child go down the little fire lane to the undercover area, and that's where they will stand. Their teacher will then come out and get them. And for those of you that have had students at our school before, it's very similar to what happens on rainy day recesses. After recess is over, kids line up in specific lines based on classroom. Teacher comes out to retrieve them and then escorts them back into the school. The teachers will escort them into specific doors. So Miss Lawrence's kindergarten class will have a specific door they enter. Miss Ireland's first grade will have a different door they enter, and so on and so on. So we're trying to limit the amount of cross-pollination we can get between different classrooms. So we're trying to limit that as much as we can. Now, As more and more kids come back to school, when the 2nd through 5th graders come back, that's going to be harder to do. The rule is no student is supposed to come in contact with more than 100 kids in one day. Well, that should be pretty easy for us within grade levels. There's not more than 100 kindergartners or 100 first graders and so on. But we will have more than 100 students at school when all of our kids are back in a hybrid model. So we really have to watch that. And that's why I'm being kind of extra cautious and having classrooms go in through certain doors and use certain bathrooms at certain times. And on the playground, we're going to still allow, say, kindergarten can go out to recess at the same time, but we're going to divide the playground up. So, and I know this is a bummer for kids that have friends in other rooms, but it's kind of the reality we're living in. So we'll say Miss Neal's class gets the play structure today, Miss Lawrence's class gets the asphalt, and Miss Myers's class is going to be on the track, and we'll rotate that around. So we're going to keep kids within their own cohort. They'll be able to play together 6 feet apart, but they will not be able to play with students from another kindergarten classroom who may be out on the playground at the same time, at least for now. We're going to be extra cautious to begin with. So that's where we're standing right now. So when they enter the building, anytime a student enters or exits, and that includes going to recess, they will need to get a squirt of hand sanitizer and sanitize their hands on their way back in as well. We will have our hallways all set up for one-way traffic. There will be markings on the floor, little dots for kids to go across. We're lucky enough that our hallways are wide enough. They are more than 6 feet wide, so we can actually have two-way traffic. We can have one group going one way up against one wall, the other group going the other way on the other wall. They're more than 6 feet apart. So we're lucky there. There are some schools that have very narrow hallways, so their hallways have to be one way only. But there will be markings all over the floor. And again, as soon as they're put down here at school, they aren't here yet, I will be shooting videos of what this will look like. And in fact, I was just told this morning that we are allowed to use students to make those videos. So I may be calling some of you and asking, hey, would you mind if your student came to school for this time masked, and they can show us how to walk down the hall as we shoot some instructional videos on that. And then teachers will greet students at the door. Your child will have an assigned seat. And last time I showed you what the classroom looks like, I can tell you it's not exciting. And I hope none of you are excited or are looking forward to a big, bright, colorful room with desks close together. Obviously, it is not. The desks are all 6 feet apart in all directions. And your child will sit at the same desk, same seat each day. They'll have their own activities, work to do, their own supplies. We are not supposed to be bringing supplies back and forth from home to school each day. They'll be hanging their backpack and their coat on their chair, so we're not mixing those together over in the coat hang-up area. And what we're thinking is that kids will have a little pencil box or kind of a Tupperware container that is strictly theirs, that they will keep at their seat, because remember, another child is using that seat later in the week. So they will have their own supply container as well. So we're still working through all those details, and teachers are going to work together to figure out, okay, what supplies do we really need at school? We're still finding out details whether we will have Chromebooks here at school. Obviously, all our Chromebooks were sent home to families, and we don't want our kids bringing Chromebooks back and forth in a backpack each day. So we're hoping that the Chromebook that you have now stays at school until it's deemed safe to return it. And we'll have other ones for kids to use when they're at school. Because as you can imagine, and our teachers are especially a little anxious about this, trying to keep kindergarten and first graders, well, honestly, up to 5th grade, sitting in a seat for 3 hours at a time without any technology in front of them or any other ways to group students together, that's going to be pretty challenging. So we want to make sure we have some technology that they can work on to make school a little bit more engaging. So we're still working on that. I've not heard official word of whether we'll have Chromebooks at school just like you have at home. And then this is not our school, but this gives you a good indication. So this is Happy Valley Elementary. See the blue markings on the ground? We will have something very similar to that at Scouters. Now, they have these two front doors. Luckily for us, We're not connected to a giant middle school, so kids don't have to walk a mile to get to a side door of their school. So we'll have these blue dots probably all around the perimeter of our school leading to different doors. This is what the undercover area will look like, but we can probably fit 6 rows of these undercover. So kids will line up, they know how far apart to be from everyone, and when they enter the building and enter through the different doors. And then here at Happy Valley, you can see they've had their markings laid down in the hallway, and there's sort of what it looks like. You can see the yellow markings. That's where kids are to follow as they go down the hall toward their classrooms. Ours will look very similar. Our hallways are wide enough where we can have markings on this side and markings on this side going the other way. And again, this is going to take a lot of training, and I'll ask for parent help at home, reminding kids when they come to school what it will look like. I didn't have any pictures to show yet because our school has not been marked yet. So I used another school, but this is very similar to what our school will look like when they're finally marked on the floor. And so in the classroom, and we kind of went over this, students will have assigned seats. They stay within their 35 square feet of space while in the classroom. Masks are worn at all times. There are no exceptions to that. There is an area, we've been told we can designate an area for a kid who maybe needs a mask break. I understand that, wearing that mask for that long, it'll drive kids crazy, or if something happens and it's damaged, or it gets yucky, we will have separate ones here. We'll have extra ones here at school that they can replace it. But if a child just needs a break from wearing their mask, we will have a designated area where they'll be able to take a quick break from wearing their mask. But in the classroom, while instruction is happening, masks will be worn at all times by staff and students. And that means all staff members, me included. Anybody who is working in the building will have a mask. We will provide you supplies because we are not bringing supplies from home. So you don't have to worry about going out and doing school supply shopping. I know some families really enjoy doing that. Others appreciate that we just ask for a check at the beginning of the year. But none of that this year. The materials will stay at the desk. They'll be picked up each night. Rooms will be cleaned nightly. In fact, they'll be cleaned more often than that. We'll clean during the day, and especially on Wednesdays too. High frequency items will be cleaned throughout the day. I didn't mention it here, but water, all of our water fountains, as you can probably understand, are turned off. They are not active, and that includes water fountains in the classroom. So I would highly encourage bringing a refillable water bottle, each student bringing their own water bottle to school. They could refill it using the tap water in the sink because the sink will be on to wash hands. There's nothing wrong with that water. It's just probably not something that the kid would probably rather have water from home or bottled water, whatever they want to do, but bring a reusable water bottle, whether that's a hydro flask or a water bottle that the kid likes to use. There will be built-in movement and snack breaks. We are not going to have your child sitting at a desk for 3 hours in a row. There is a recess built in, and our teachers are pros. They will figure out ways to make sure kids get some movement in there. So we don't want it to be college lecture style in the first grade where kids are sitting at one desk all day long. So things to think about at home. I know lots of you go to public places where masks are required. But it might be good if you're someone who is extra cautious and not doing a lot of public appearances, practice wearing a mask at home, get your student used to wearing a mask, schedule a morning snack break so students are used to eating in the morning. We will build in restroom breaks here at school. We'll do our best of that, but we know there's going to be times when a child has to use the restroom when it's not their designated break time. And we are certainly not going to say, oh, I'm sorry, you can't use the restroom because your time was 15 minutes ago. So we will have staff in place to supervise those. What we want to make sure of, the stalls in the bathroom will be divided. So there will be some that will be locked so we can keep kids apart from each other. And we're not going to have more than, I think it's 2 kids in our restrooms at the same time. So we'll have someone monitoring that. And then I would just say practice extending time on task. This will be tough for kindergarten. It would be tough for me sitting in one spot for 3 hours. So this is going to be an adjustment, especially for kids who are used to being at home and being able to get up and move around. We simply cannot get up and move around the classroom and go over and talk to our friend, or go sharpen your pencil, or go get a drink in the back of the classroom because the drinking fountain 1 is not open. But There will be specific pathways in the classroom for kids to follow, and our teachers will do a great job of practicing all those and going over those. But we really have to get kids prepared for this is your spot, and you need to do your very best to stay in this spot. Anything else that I have here? I think that is the end. Okay, this is not ours. I went in ours live last time, but here you get a good look at an elementary classroom. And there's the desk set apart. You can see there's a teaching space up front, but you can see how far apart your kids are. This would be very similar to what ours look like. And you can see the teacher area up front. In fact, we were a little bit meaner and we moved teachers' desks out to give us more space. So teachers have this space to work from, and then the different seating arrangements here. So we've had some teachers, especially in kindergarten, who have toyed with the idea of not having desks, that kids sit on the floor with maybe, and that way they can roll over onto their tummies or lay on their back if they want, and they have a little smaller area to write on, a hard surface. We're still toying with that idea. And maybe some of the upper grades will want to take that route as well. But this is kind of the layout of what a classroom looks like. In February, I took you into Miss Ireland's room, which looks very similar to this. The only difference is we don't have these single desks in our classrooms. We have double desks that are connected together. So your students will actually have more room. They will have a whole double desk here that they will sit at. So they'll have some room over here to place their things that they're not working on. Backpacks and coats and things will go on their chair, and that's where they'll stay. So that's what a classroom looks like. And then, as I said before, there'll be scheduled bathroom breaks. I don't know. I just don't want people to think, oh gosh, if my child has to use the bathroom and it's not their bathroom break, they're going to be in trouble. They're not. We will make sure that we allow students to use the restroom when they need to. On a non-scheduled time, an IA or an instructional assistant will take them. We'll have someone. The goal is to have one teacher and one assistant in each classroom. Now, that was the goal when it was K1. Now that we're getting all of second, third, fourth, and fifth coming too, we're obviously going to run out of adults. So we're going to have to do our best. And no adult, including me, is supposed to come in contact with more than 100 kids per day. I think we'll be okay with that. We'll see if we get over 100 when we get to K1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But we just have to be careful about that. And that's something we'll have to monitor. But in a perfect world, your student would have a teacher and an assistant in the classroom. So the assistant could make sure that the students are escorted to the bathroom and check the bathroom ahead of time to make sure there's not too many students in there. So you can see it's a lot of logistic things that we have to figure out here at school. And then movement breaks, we're still figuring that out. There will be an organized movement break to start. We will move to more of a structured recess. Yeah, they've asked us as schools to start with more structured activities before just letting kids go out to the playground, which I understand, because if we on day one said, okay, kids, there's the playground, I think we all know kids are going to have a hard time staying 6 feet apart. So it's going to take us a little while to train them, but we will get to that point where we'll be using it. So outdoor snack and movement with their class. We will have designated areas like I explained before. It may be that classroom A is on the play structure, 6 feet apart. Classroom B is on the basketball courts and the asphalt area, the 4 square courts, 6 feet apart. We'll rotate them. And we're really going to do our best to come up with some games that kids can play. So they're not, some kids enjoy that. They just like being outside and walking around, and they're certainly able to do that. But we just don't want kids out there just standing around, especially if it's cold or rainy out there. We'll have some organized games that keep them socially distanced. And let's see, dismissal process. This is something we're still going to figure out. So it's pretty easy to have kids line up under the covered area to come into the building. I'm still thinking through, and we're still figuring out as a staff how we're going to have students dismiss, because obviously parents and buses, they only have the parking lot area. That's where you'll pick up your kid. It's very likely we may do some kind of staggered dismissal. So we'll say Miss Myers and Miss Lawrence's class are getting out at this time. We'll try to line cars up as best we can. We're gonna have to figure that out. So we likely will have signs that you could use in your passenger window. So because it might be assistants who don't know you as well. I think if I were out there, I would recognize you and which child is yours, but not everyone does. So kind of like we've done in supply pickups, if you have a sign in your window that says your child's name in it and what grade and what teacher they are. That will help speed up the process. Students obviously have to quickly get in the car and off we go. We don't have a lot of walkers, but those of you that live next door, bring students to the front in the bike rack area, and we'll wait behind the designated line, which is probably going to be our curb line. And then there's the bus. Staff will bring the students through the middle school. This was from Happy Valley. We don't have a middle school. Our kids will be going through the undercover play area out back, and then cleaning classrooms. They'll be cleaned nightly and a deeper clean on Wednesday between cohorts. So there's the dismissal processes. We're still getting through all of that. And I believe that is the end of my presentation. Almost. We'll get to questions. As I mentioned, today is a big day. That letter from the district that's going to kind of go over what I just went over with you and ask you to confirm your original choice, hybrid or CDL. That's supposed to come home today. Now, sometimes I sent things home and said, you know what, the district is supposed to send something home today and it doesn't happen. I will let you know if for any reason something happened, maybe in the translation process or at the district level, it wasn't able to go out today. But the plan is that letter is coming home today. Any changes that you would like to make, we need to know at our school no later than the following Friday, March 5th. And remember, the class size is limited. We can only fit so many kids in each room with these staggered desks and 6 feet apart desks. And as I explained before, our week of March 8th through the 12th is when we'll be creating our cohorts and sending them home to you. We will send those home to you before spring break, so you know what to expect on that Monday after spring break. So there are the dates.
Curtis,
Yeah.
I think someone needs to be let in.
Pardon me? Oh, sorry. I don't see that on my screen. Let me see if I can get it. Is there someone waiting to get in? It's a little tricky for me. I don't use Zoom as often. So let's see. I don't see it here. Maybe it'll come up on my screen. Okay, let's see. Participants, come here. Sorry about that. I'm still learning with Zoom. Okay, participants. Is there someone that needs to be? Oh, here we go. Let me see if I got it. I see the chat. I don't see anyone that wants to be let in. Someone needs in. That's what Devin is telling me. Okay, I see it there. Let me see if I can get them in. Darn it. How do I get them in here? Usually it comes on my screen.
I think they've been added, Mr. Long.
Okay, I hope so, because I don't see them up on my screen. And then, yep, that is the end of my presentation. So I'm going to go backwards to any questions from here. I could take you down if you would like to. We showed you a picture of the classroom. That one at Happy Valley looks very similar to ours. It's not exciting. It's 6 feet apart, but your children are definitely safe and socially distanced in there. So I think this would be a great time to open it up again for questions. Let me check the chat again because I saw some things in there before. Let me see if I can get to it. Okay, so in the chat, let's see, where is it? Where's my chat? Is it right here? No. Oh, here it is. Okay, so chat. So that was Finn's mom who was getting in. All right, she's in. Excellent. Teacher assignments have not been made yet. Thank you, Mrs. Bell. Correct. Do we know which teachers for kindergarten will be doing CDL and which are doing the hybrid model? I can answer a little bit about that. I don't know the exact teachers, but teachers were provided a survey whether they feel comfortable returning to teach in a hybrid model or whether they would like to, for whatever reasons, remain in CDL. For some of our teachers, that's for health reasons or for who they live with or who they care for. And so all of that information is in our district's human resources department, and they will help determine which teachers will teach the hybrid and which ones will teach CDL. At some schools, I don't think this will be an issue at Scouters. At some schools, they may need, say, a first grade teacher to teach kindergarten because of the way things worked out. I believe at our school, all grades will remain the same for whatever teachers are teaching hybrid and which ones are teaching CDL. So Mrs. Bell, correct. Teacher assignments have not been made, but we hope to know those very soon. Orlando, thank you to our parent Zoom expert that helped out earlier. Absolutely, whoever did that. Okay, everyone is in. When is the return date? Okay, great question. Is it still just starting with K and first? Okay, so that's a great question for those of you that came in late. Let me go backwards. Here's the big news. Right here. Okay, so this is what was approved last night at the school board meeting. This will be good for everyone to see again. So grades K through 1, March 18th and 19th will now be, and it says LIPI, L-I-P-I. That's limited in-person instruction. If you've had a kindergartner before, you may remember they came to school for one day before their official first day. That's kind of what that is on March 18th and or 19th. I don't know yet. Kindergarten and first graders will come to school for in-person instruction if you've selected hybrid and get a kind of a tour and a lay of the land. Here's where my classroom is. Here's what it looks like. The first day of the hybrid schedule, kindergarten and first grade will be here on March 29th. That's the Monday after spring break. They're coming. We can't wait to see them. We won't be able to tell if they're smiling or not because they'll have a mask over their mouth, but we will be smiling under our masks. And then this is new. Grades 2 through 5, as approved last night by our school board, they are coming to school. If they chose hybrid model, they start April 12th. So as of April 12th, we will have our entire elementary population who chose the hybrid model in our school learning for half a day. It is not all day for us. It looks like it will be 9 o'clock to 12:10, and then the afternoon will be online for those of you that had live instruction. For those of you that did not have live instruction that morning, you log on in the afternoon and get live instruction on the computer from your teacher for the afternoon. So the goal there is cohort A, let's say you're in cohort A, you're Monday, Tuesday. Let's go through a Monday. Monday, if you're in cohort A, you're going to school from 9:10 to 12 or 9 o'clock to 12:10 live. You go home, you have asynchronous or online activities to do the rest of the day. If you're in cohort B and it's Monday, you have asynchronous stuff to do in the morning after your morning meeting. And then you're doing live things with your teacher on the computer that afternoon. So everyone in your classroom is doing the same lessons. Half of you are doing them live in person. Half of you are doing them live on the computer each day. And it just flip-flops whether you're coming to school live or whether you're coming to school on the computer live. It flip-flops whether you're Monday, Tuesday, or Thursday, Friday. But that's the big one. And then 6 through 12, if you have older siblings or older kids, they're going back too. I know my kids were shocked to hear this. I have a middle schooler and a high schooler, and neither one of them still believe it's true, but they're going back April 26th as part of a hybrid schedule. So that's the plan right now. And you can see on the bottom here, it says subject to change depending on vaccine availability, health metrics being met. Actually, for those of you that are following it, the metrics look really good. From what I hear, we're now in the moderate risk and we're way out of extreme. And then bus transportation driver availability, that could change things as the district is still working to bring back all of our bus drivers who will obviously be busy here coming up. And the bus is something we didn't talk about. There will be requirements on the bus. Obviously, we can't sit kids right next to each other on the bus. So what I think they'll be doing, we'll see something like an every other seat to yourself type model on the bus. We'll get more information from transportation about that. But I believe kids will have their own seat. In fact, I know they will have their own seat. I don't know if it'll be every other seat or we are able to use every seat, but each kid has their own seat on the bus. And you'll get information about bus routes just like you do at the beginning of the school year. As soon as we know all of our hybrid students and where they live, then transportation can make their bus routes and then we'll relay those on to you. What is the expected last day of school? Good question, Devin. Let me look behind me at my official calendar. As of right now, it looks like the official last day of school is Thursday, June 11th. And part of the reason that we did not cancel school on those snow and ice days is because we would not then have to extend the year any further into June. So as of right now, barring we don't have any major ice storms or power outages or anything, the last day of school is Thursday, June 12th. What is the ventilation situation inside the classrooms? Excellent question. We have installed, at least in our K1 classroom so far, very fancy air purifiers. And the HVAC systems are all being worked on at schools to circulate the maximum amount of air as possible. In fact, we've been told to tell families that it may be a little more chilly in classrooms as they're trying to let more fresh air into the room. So you probably want to wear a hoodie or a coat, bring a coat, because teachers will likely have their windows open to help circulate air. I think on the bus even, they're going to have windows open. Not all of them, but some of them. So you definitely want to dress warm because we want air circulating. Excellent question. I want to get to this one. Will my teacher have the same teacher in hybrid as they do currently in distance learning? Well, that is our goal. If you signed up for hybrid, we are hoping your child will have that same teacher that they do right now. The only way that would get kind of goofy is if one of our teachers, and the only place I can see this happening is kindergarten or 5th grade, because we have 3 teachers, and if we only need 2 hybrid classrooms, we have enough families signed up for 2 hybrid rooms. One of those teachers' kids are going to have to go to a new teacher. So this is just an example. I'm making this up out of my head, but let's look at our kindergarten. We have Miss Lawrence, Miss Neal, and Miss Myers. Let's say that Miss Lawrence and Miss Myers are going to be the hybrid teachers. The kids from Miss Neal's room who signed up for hybrid, they would get either Miss Lawrence or Miss Neal, or Miss Myers. And then the kids who signed up for CDL, those kids would all probably go to Mrs. Neal then, who would be our CDL teacher. I totally made that up. I don't know which teachers are going to do which. Same would be in 5th grade. So if we only have 2 classrooms worth of hybrid students in the 5th grade, and let's just say Mr. Cook and Mrs. Grimm, that's one classroom, and Miss Bostwick is teaching the other one, that means the kids from Miss Webke's class would go to one of those 2 rooms, and Mrs. Webke would teach the CDL kids in 5th grade. Otherwise, you look at our other grades, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, we have 2 teachers in those grades. So 1st grade, Miss Ireland and Miss Hatchell, and I believe it sure looks like we have enough families signed up for 2 hybrid classrooms. So if you sign up for hybrid in the 1st grade, you're going to get your same teacher in a hybrid model, but the kids who were elected to stay, or families who elected to stay in CDL, they would get a different teacher from another school somewhere. Or maybe it's one of our teachers who now is moving grades to 1st grade to teach CDL. We don't know that yet. But it's in those situations where if you elect to stay in CDL, you probably will have a different teacher in those grades that we only have 2 teachers per grade. I apologize if I missed it, but will the buses be up and running on March 29th? And when will the route be out for pickup and drop off times? Great question. The answer is yes, the buses will be up and running. We will give you the route as soon as we know it. I think it will be probably mid-March, because transportation needs to know first how many of our families are in hybrid and where they live. They will create the route. They give it to us. And actually, they're pretty good too about sending it out to you directly. And then they'll send it to us and I will send it out as well. So I would say mid-March, you'll find out your bus route. Now, you don't have to take a bus. I would encourage you to, but you don't have to. It would certainly cut down on the traffic in our parking lot. And I realize on day 1, that very first day, I would be the same way. I imagine lots of you who have bus transportation are going to drive your child on the first day. I probably would too, just to get them off. But after day 1, and just be prepared on day 1, just as it is on the first day of school in a typical school year, it's a mess in our parking lot. But luckily, it'll only be kindergarten and 1st graders on that first day on March 29th. But just be prepared and make sure your child knows that you will not be walking your child all the way to class. You will not be going through the front doors with your child. You will get to the edge of our parking lot, give them a hug and a kiss goodbye, and then they will be going down to the undercover area to wait in line to go into the classroom. Now, that may differ a little bit once we get everybody back. We're going to have designated areas for each of our classrooms, but just be prepared and prepare your child for that on the first day of school, especially if you have a child who you know after being at home for the past year and out of school, and for our kindergartners who have never come to live school before. Be prepared for that and go over that with your child. And we know that some kids are going to have trouble with that. And if that happens, they can stay with you in the parking lot for a little while until they're ready to come in. But parents cannot come in the building. Now, in a typical school year, of course, we would have parents walk their child down the hallway to their classroom. But I will tell you, even that practice with the safety precautions that are in place, that practice is quickly going away too, where we're going to be stopping parents at the front door. And even on day one, which I know can be nerve-wracking and lots of anxiety for some kids, especially our kindergartners who have never done it, they need to go down to their area without mom or dad or grandma or grandpa or whoever's bringing them to schools. So just be prepared for that. Any other questions, either in the chat or out loud? That's what this is for.
Mr. Long, I was curious if children do have like a cough, but they've tested negative. I know our family ended up with a cold this last month and we all tested negative, but we are all still coughing. How does that work? And would they be moved to CDL, or how would they, not sick enough to really be in bed, they could
Right.
certainly still be learning?
Well, I believe that will be our school nurse will take a big part of that. So if your student has a cough at school, for the first time we notice it, we're not going to take any chances. They would probably go to our care room. We would contact family. Family could explain the situation to us. Oh, yes, we've had a cold. Oh, yes, we've had a COVID test. I can show you the results of that. The school nurse will take that information and advise us whether that student needs to remain at home or can return to school. Hopefully that helps. I mean, we're all learning together. None of us have ever done this before. So I imagine, and I'll be prepared for this, we will have some parents who may be a little upset with me because their student was sent to the care room because they sneezed or coughed or who knows. We just can't take any chances with that. And I hope other parents understand that. And I hope even the parent of the child understands that, that we are going to be calling. We are going to be probably putting them in the care room for a little while until we get the whole story of what is. And maybe it'll take a doctor's note. If you have a negative test that you have the results from, that's great. But we're just going to have to work together on that. And I will, my job is to keep everyone safe, and I will be extra cautious that if we have a student repeatedly coughing, until we hear from the family or a medical professional that says that student is fine to be around other students, they're probably going to be asked to stay at home. Thank you, Finn's mom. I think that's mom. Thank you for all the planning, sweat, and tears that have gone into all this year. I cannot tell you enough how proud I am of our staff members. You think back a year ago, their job was totally different. And I know for a lot of you working parents, your job has gotten totally different too. They have gone from leading students in person to doing everything electronically. And so they won't like me to admit this to you, but some of them barely knew how to use a Google Meets last March. And what they're doing now, I am so proud of them. They deserve all the credit. They've done an incredible job with your students. And I know for some families, distance learning isn't perfect. Well, probably for all families, it's not. And it doesn't work for your kids very well. We're doing the very best we can. My goal is to still make school as enjoyable as possible, as we possibly can. And granted, when we come back in this hybrid model, I'm sure we'll have some student disappointment coming home saying, oh gosh, mom, I got to sit in one seat all day and I didn't get to see my friend on the playground because we had to stay apart. Hopefully your support at home, that will be very helpful if you can explain to them that that's the way school has to look at least through the end of this year. And hopefully next fall, we'll be back to in-person learning as close to what we're used to as possible. Kindergarten families, I'm very, very excited for you. I know this is going to be a big step because your kids have not been in our school ever before. They haven't had a chance to, they didn't even get to come to orientation last year in the building. We had to do that recorded. We're going to be as careful and full of care for each one of them because this is totally new for them. They haven't even been around this building before. And our poor first graders who had their kindergarten year cut short at the March mark, a lot of them probably won't even remember where the certain things are. We'll do our best with them as well. And then for our older families, I'm so excited for fifth grade that they are going to get at least some sense of closure in a school. And those of you that have chosen the hybrid model. Now, we probably won't be able to do a fifth grade promotion ceremony. We'll get more guidance on that, but at least they will have a chance to be in the building. Our poor fifth graders last year left school without ever seeing their teachers and their friends in the school setting again. We had kind of a parade for them through the parking lot at the end of the year, but that's all they got. So at least in this situation, we will have kids in the building getting a chance to see their friends, participate in live instruction. So we're excited about that. Any other questions? Okay, I have recorded this. Any questions that you have after something that pops into your mind, feel free to contact me here at school. Oh, here comes one through the chat. If the kid who signed up for hybrid now, will they have to sign up for next fall again, or will they automatically sign up for the fall? Oh gosh, I hope we don't have to do hybrid again next fall. But if we do, we will likely be sending home another sign up, yes, to make sure that we have all the kids. Because remember, especially at Scouters Mountain, we're going to get big in a hurry. For those of you that don't know, boundaries changed this summer for the new high school, and that does affect our school. We are gaining some students from Spring Mountain Elementary, which I'm very excited about. I was the principal there 3 years ago before here. So there's some siblings that I know pretty well that are coming to us. Plus, with all the construction around us and houses being completed, I would guess that our grades, they're at 2 teachers right now, could very likely be at 3 starting next year. We're going to get bigger in a hurry. So we're going to need to know how many students exactly we're going to have. If we start in a hybrid model, we're going to need to know that for staffing purposes. So most likely there will be another sign up, yes. Any other questions? The most important thing I can ask of you is when you receive today's communication from the school district, I don't think you need to do anything if you've already made your decision, hybrid or CDL. If you are considering changing your mind, which is perfectly fine, one way or the other, and we've had families doing both, just please let us know here in the office. We would like to sign up for hybrid now after careful consideration, or after seeing Mr. Long's presentation, we'd like to elect to stay in CDL. Either one is fantastic. That's great. We just need to know for us. So if you are changing your mind, please let the school know. And if you can't remember what you chose, or if you're new to us and you don't remember even making a choice, please contact us here at school. Either email me or the front office, or just call our school, and you can find all that information on our school website. Any other questions? I want to try to see if I stop sharing. Let me stop sharing because I want to see people on the screen. All right, there we go. Now, let's get this out of here. Now I can see people on the screen. It's so nice to see all of these families. And I see some students on there. Now I can see all of you. Thank you so much, especially those of you that are new to our school, and to those of you who have stuck with us throughout this whole year. Oh, there's Finn. I see some of our students on there. Great to see all of you. How nice to see you. There's some in the background. There's Arthur. Oh, I can't wait to see you guys in person again, even if you'll be wearing a mask. I know we won't be able to smile at each other, but at least we'll get to see each other's faces. It'll be fun to see you. There is Liliana. I see lots of faces on there, so we're excited. And again, if you are someone who elects to come in hybrid or elects to stay with us in CDL, we will get you all that information coming soon. But I wanted to make sure and have this conversation with those of you who are able to make this, and we'll record it and post it on our school website as well. But that was big news that came out of our school board meeting last night. Hi, Charlie. Those of you, and Owen, those of you who weren't able to tune into the school board meeting, that was big news in that we thought originally this was only going to be a K-1 process. And we're all coming back, folks. By the end of April, we'll have everyone in a hybrid model. And again, I'm not going to tell you it's going to be smooth sailing right from the beginning. There are probably things that we have in our plans that we will look at after a couple of days and say, what in the world were we thinking? That's not going to work. And I will be sending home revised plans of here's what we're doing now for restrooms. Here's what we're doing for recess, because that didn't work. So please be patient with us. None of us have ever done this before. We're learning together. And we're going to make it work, and we're going to make this school year continue to be as positive as possible for your kids. On that note, thank you so much for attending. I really, really appreciate it. And again, I'm always here. Oh, I had the headband on. It's grade level color day, so I'm trying to represent all the different grades. So I have blue, yellow, red. I don't have any purple fourth graders. I got to find some kind of purple for the fourth grade. And then hopefully we'll see lots of you in the afternoon, or at least your kids for the afternoon assembly today, where we'll be handing out awards. And I see Mrs. Bell on here. Fiona is saying hi, Mrs. Bell. So there we go. It's good to see some of our staff members who are able to make it today too. Thank you for all of your support. I tell people all the time. In fact, some of my principal friends, they get a little sick of me telling me, bragging about our community. I have the best community that I work with, much better than the one you work with. And it's just because of things. Your support has been unwavering and so positive, even during these difficult times. And we certainly appreciate that. So thank you for all of your support. Thank you for being patient. Look for that note coming home today from the school district. And it should summarize what we talked about today, but I wanted to get to you first. And then if you have any change of heart and you want to change your mind, please let our office know as we start to create those cohorts. Okay, any more in the chat? Lots of thank yous, excellent. And next week, I'll be sending out more information. It's Read Across America Week. We start National Women's History Month. We've got lots to cover in the upcoming weeks as well before spring break. So lots coming up. And I apologize for making every day next week a dress-up day. I'm apologizing to our staff and to our parents. Some kids really enjoy that. Some families, it drives them nuts. But we will do our best to get, I think it makes it fun for kids. And of course, those are optional anyway. All right, folks, thanks for tuning in today. And can't wait to share with you more information as we move along. Thanks a lot, everyone. How do I stop recording?